Well, good morning. I hope everybody had a nice Easter weekend. Welcome. I'd like to call the Joint Subcommittee, K-12 Higher Ed and CIP to order, and would the Secretary please call the roll?
Assemblywoman Hannigy?
Here.
Assemblywoman Kasama?
Here.
Assemblyman Miller?
Here.
Assemblywoman Monroe-Monreno?
Here.
Assemblyman O'Neill? Assemblywoman Peters?
Here.
Assemblyman Yeager?
Here.
Senator Cannizzaro? Senator Neal? Senator Severs-Gansert? Senator Titus?
Here.
Assemblywoman Backus?
Present.
Chair Don Daralou.
Here.
Please mark those not here present as they arrive. And just as a reminder, please turn off your cell phones. And with that, today we have a first budget closing for this subcommittee this session. We'll be closing the budgets of the State Public Charter School Authority. Ms. Ryan with LCB Fiscal will take the committee through the closing, and go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, members of the subcommittee. Madison Ryan, LCB Fiscal Analysis Division. For the record, there are two budgets scheduled to be closed by the subcommittee this morning, both of which were heard by the subcommittee on February 14th, 2023. And the first budget is on page 3 of the closing packet, which is the State Public Charter School Authority budget, budget account 101-2711. And the State Public Charter School Authority is responsible for authorizing charter schools of high quality throughout the state and providing oversight and technical assistance to state-sponsored charter schools, as well as fostering a climate in which all charter schools can succeed. The agency also provides financial support for the activities of its 9 board members. And for the 2022-23 school year, the agency currently sponsors 43 charter schools throughout the state. Nevada Revised Statutes 388A 414 authorizes the agency to collect up to a 2% administrative fee, of which the agency collects an administrative fee of 1.25% currently. The agency also receives federal funding transferred from the Nevada Department of Education and is a local educational agency. And there is one major closing issue for the subcommittee's consideration this morning, which is 6 new full-time positions, inclusive of decision units E275, E276, and E277. The governor recommends reserve reductions of $1.1 million over the 2023-25 biennium for 6 new full-time positions and associated operating expenditures. The agency indicates the additional 6 new positions would help to address the increase in charter schools, campuses, pupils, and grant programs administered in order to fulfill the agency's role as a local educational agency and charter school sponsor. While this is discussed as one major issue, the closing document includes independent decision points for each of the 3 noted decision units. And then the table at the top of page 4 of the closing packet shows the actual enrollment in state-sponsored charter schools from fiscal year 2017 through fiscal year 2022, and the projected enrollment for fiscal year 2023 through fiscal year 2025. Additionally, the 2021 legislature approved various positions, as well as the Interim Finance Committee also approved positions for the authority during the interim for the 2021-23 biennium. And the table at the bottom of page 4 of the closing packet provides the positions approved for the 2021-23 biennium and the new positions included in the governor's recommended budget for the 2023-25 biennium. The State Public Charter School Authority, as a local educational agency, provides training and technical assistance, conducts risk assessments, monitors federal programs, and manages the fiscal functions of all state and federal grant programs, including those that were previously administered by the Department of Education for state-sponsored charter schools. The authority is responsible for the disbursement of grant funds, solicitation of grant applications, justification and budget detail, and review of information received from grant recipients to ensure compliance with the law. According to the agency, the 6 additional positions are needed to ensure the following 3 areas are adequately addressed, as outlined in the middle of page 5 of the closing document, which includes the first of state and federal grant program administration, which the agency indicates 2 management analyst positions and 1 grants and projects analyst position would help to address. The second, school oversight and accountability, which the agency indicates 1 education programs professional position and 1 management analyst position would help to address. The third, efficient agency operations and service of schools, which the agency indicates 1 business process analyst would help to address. The first decision unit for the subcommittee's consideration is Decision Unit E275, which includes one new management analyst position, one new business process analyst position, and one new education programs professional position, which the governor recommends reserve reductions of $593,795 over the 2023-25 biennium for. The first position in this decision unit is a management analyst, which according to the agency, this position would monitor grant funding awarded to charter schools, ensure the agency maintains a sufficient cash flow by requesting reimbursement from the Department of Education in a more frequent manner, ensure charter schools receive awarded funding in a timely manner, and prepare financial reports. Per the agency, the authority is currently unable to maintain a sufficient cash flow to process grant reimbursements to schools within a 30-day time frame, and the new management analyst position would help the agency to submit requests for reimbursement to the department on a more frequent basis. Additionally, due to the cash flow issue identified by the agency, it can take upwards of 3 months for charter schools to receive reimbursement for expenditures already incurred related to grant funding, dependent on the realized funding available in the agency's budget. And then the agency indicates the current timeline for the authority to submit a request for reimbursement from the Department of Education to maintain cash flow is dependent on the existing management analyst position's workload. And the agency further indicates the goal is to submit one request for reimbursement for the NDE for each grant the authority manages every month. However, the department has recently agreed to allow the authority to submit requests for reimbursement on a more frequent basis to assist with the cash flow issue, but the agency indicates it does not currently have sufficient staffing to perform the work on a more frequent basis. The agency notes an existing management analyst position performs the duties that would be assumed by the new management analyst position if approved, and the existing position is currently prevented from performing its other duties. During the budget hearing, the authority testified that it could expect to receive one reimbursement request per grant per month for each of its 43 state-sponsored charter schools. And although the authority indicated that the department agreed to allow the authority to submit requests for reimbursement more than once per month, the authority has been unable to maintain submission of more than one request for reimbursement per month due to the current workload of the existing management analyst position performing this work and the agency's inability to hire a contract position to perform this work. The second position in this decision unit is a business process analyst, which the agency indicates this position would serve as the agency's assigned IT coordinator and would work to develop and implement more efficient technological processes, propose new systems or applications, and coordinate with the Division of Enterprise IT Services, EATS, staff on all products and services provided by EATS to the agency. IT-related duties and issues are currently addressed by an existing business process analyst, an administrative services officer, and or directly through EATS if authority staff are unable to resolve an IT-related issue. The third position in this decision unit is an education programs professional, which the agency indicates this position would ensure all state assessments are properly administered, monitor data submissions for quality, and serve as the primary point of contact for authority-sponsored schools on all Nevada data systems. The 2019 legislature approved one new education programs professional position to serve as the testing coordinator for the authority, and the agency indicates the new education programs professional position included in the governor's recommended budget would complement the work of the existing education programs professional position since the agency's enrollment has increased. The agency further indicates that the new education programs professional position would serve as the testing coordinator and be responsible for assessments and ensuring quality data inputs. The authority indicates that the new position would be responsible for ensuring schools are prepared for test administration and schools' data submissions are accurate over various reporting platforms, while the existing education programs professional position would be responsible for the review, analysis, and reporting of assessment data. And during the budget hearing, the authority testified that there is currently one education programs professional position and one administrative assistant position that are responsible for all aspects of the authority's duties and responsibilities related to data and assessment work. And the authority further notes that this work includes data collection and inputs and analysis of the data and information collected to evaluate the performance of authority-sponsored charter schools, as well as other data-related items. The decision for the subcommittee in the middle of page 7 of the closing packet is, does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of reserve reductions of $260,644 in fiscal year 2024 and $333,151 in fiscal year 2025 for one new management analyst position, one new business process analyst position, one new education programs professional position, associated operating and equipment expenditures, and provide fiscal staff with authority to make technical adjustments as necessary. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, I would accept a motion as fiscal staff read. So moved by Assemblywoman Bacchus, second by Assemblywoman Huttake. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Please go ahead, Ms. Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madison Ryan, LCB Fiscal, for the record. The second decision unit for the subcommittee's consideration is Decision Unit E276, which includes one new Grants and Projects Analyst position and one new Management Analyst position, which the Governor recommends reserve reductions of $344,107 over the 2023-25 biennium for. The first position in this decision unit is a Grants and Projects Analyst, which the agency indicates this position would provide guidance to schools on federal and state grant requirements, as well as provide fiscal oversight and support on various grant programs previously awarded directly to charter schools by the Department of Education, which are scheduled to be awarded through the authority beginning in fiscal year 2025. The Grants and Projects Analyst position would be responsible for reviewing and processing subrecipient reimbursement requests and ensuring that all subrecipient budgets and proposed expenditures adhere to the various grant program requirements. The position would support the Finance and Operations Grant Unit within the authority and would help to ensure both subrecipient and agency compliance with all federal and state regulations related to grants. The position would be responsible for administration of the Career and Technical Education, Title IV Part A, and McKinney-Vento grants, and the agency is currently responsible for administering approximately 26 grant programs, 10 of which are expected to be on an ongoing basis. The agency indicates that 3 contract positions are currently utilized to support grant application, grant amendments, and reimbursement request review. And the authority indicates that even if the recommendation for the Grants and Projects Analyst position in this decision unit and the Management Analyst position in Decision Unit E275 were to be approved, the contract positions would still be required at least through the performance period for the COVID-19 pandemic-related emergency grants. And during the budget hearing, the authority testified that the addition of one new Grants and Projects Analyst position would substantially assist with the agency's capacity to address the current and anticipated workload associated with the Finance and Operations Grant Unit over the 2023-25 biennium. The agency anticipates further growth and additional caseload and notes that it is possible that the authority would seek additional positions in the interim to address an increase in caseload. The authority indicates that the agency continues to research and pursue workload efficiency opportunities. However, the agency indicates that the current solution to address the increase in workload is the addition of staff, such as the Grants and Projects Analyst position, to perform the work. The second position in this decision unit, as identified on page 8 of the closing packet, is Management Analyst, which the agency indicates this position would provide fiscal oversight to those charter schools with financial stability issues, ensure charter schools submit accurate financial reports, and monitor various financial performance data for charter schools to ensure compliance with the authority's financial performance framework. The authority's Financial and Organizational Performance Unit was established during the 2018-19 school year, when the authority provided oversight to 60 charter school campuses and served 42,333 pupils, and now oversees 78 campuses currently and 59,670 pupils projected for the 2022-23 school year. An additional management analyst position is needed in order to maintain the same level of financial oversight and monitoring of all authority-sponsored charter schools currently overseen by 3 management analyst positions. During the budget hearing, the authority testified that the agency currently utilizes 2 primary tools to provide adequate financial oversight to sponsored schools, which includes its financial performance framework and routine monitoring of quarterly financials for each school. When there are concerns about the financial health of a school, the authority indicates that this requires additional monitoring and assistance to ensure schools are building financial stability. The agency indicates that the addition of a management analyst position would not only allow the authority to maintain the current level of financial oversight as the number of schools increase, but would also allow the authority to provide a more in-depth and intentional monitoring of the financial viability of sponsored schools. And the decision for the subcommittee at the bottom of page 8 of the closing packet is, does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of reserve reductions of $150,959 in fiscal year 2024 and $193,148 in fiscal year 2025 for one new Grants and Projects Analyst position, one new management analyst position, associated operating and equipment expenditures, and provide fiscal staff with authority to make technical adjustments as necessary. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And Assemblyman Yeager?
Thank you, and good morning, Madam Chair. I just had a question on one of the details that was listed here. So on the grants management position, the statement was that even if we authorize that position, the 3 contract positions will still be needed through the end of the performance period. And we probably covered this at the hearing, but I can't remember. When is the end of that performance period, and are these 3 full-time contract positions? If we could get some clarification on that.
I would request somebody from the Charter School Authority that might be able to answer that question, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Speaker Yeager, Jennifer Bauer from the State Public Charter School Authority. For the record, the 3 full-time grant positions are currently working now in the grant unit administering the COVID relief funds, and they stagger in an expiration. So ESSER 2 expires September with a closeout period of 90 days through December of this year. Then ARP ESSER and all associated set aside from the Department of Education would be September of 24 with a 90-day closeout period. And then we also have AB 495, which runs through December of 24 with a closeout period of December of 26.
Thank you very much. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is, if all of these decision units are approved today and they're all with reserve reductions, what will the reserves be and how healthy are you at the end of all that? And is it questionable? How safe will you guys be if all of these will approve today?
Jennifer Bauer for the record. Thank you for the question because that's very important to us, and that is something we watch very closely. Our reserves will be healthy. Our reserves will be at the typically approved or in excess of 100 days. So what we're doing at the authority is we're watching very closely to ensure that our reserves are adequate to pass through the funds to the schools and to pay our obligations, but not such that they're so high that we have too much. So what we plan on doing is watching the level, and if we need to refund to the schools, we will do so because we want to make sure that anything in excess that we have ultimately gets back to the schools.
So currently, you're well over 100 days in your reserves, correct?
Jennifer Bauer for the record, not currently, but it's projected at the end of this biennium. If the requests are approved, we would be.
Thank you. And Assemblywoman Bacchus?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I just wanted some clarification. I know that in the prior budget that we just approved the additional grants position that would address submitting to Nevada Department of Education for obviously reimbursements on grants through that process. And with this additional grants position that may be handling the federal and state grants, and I think grants that are now being passed directly to the Charter School Authority, is there any way, I know you've been kind of operating without these 2 additional positions, and I know that a lot of the delay could be in other, like outside of the Charter School Authority, a nice way to put that. Are both positions really needed, or could you go without one since the other one has been granted?
Jennifer Bauer for the record. The position that we were given last legislative session is currently working on grants we currently administer. The position for which we've requested would administer grants that either came up this biennium unannounced. For example, McKinney-Vento, we didn't know that we would have to administer that grant. And then in addition to that, we would be able to take on administering the career and technical education grants. And that could be 3, 2 federal, 1 state. So we currently do not administer those grants, but with this position, we would be able to take that over from the Department of Education as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the follow-up. Another quick question that I have on these 3 new positions, or with the grant position in particular, since you do have the contracted individuals, are these positions likely to be filled? Are you like transferring over when the contracts positions expire? Are they potential hires, or what's the likelihood that you guys will be able to fill these new positions?
Jennifer Bauer for the record. As much as I would love to convert our contracted staff into these positions, I really don't see that happening because they are outstationed. They are permanently telecommuting, and that was an arrangement that we made with the approval of the executive director such that we could hire and recruit and retain talent, because we've been able to do that with our contracted staff where we could not do that with our state staff. So I'm optimistic that we will find some talent just as qualified as our current contracted staff, but we would be experiencing the recruitment and retention issues the rest of the state would for these positions.
Thank you very much. Additional questions from the committee? Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, just for clarification, these positions, if approved, will be funded with reserves now, but going into the future for future bienniums, will they continue to be funded with reserves, or will they be, asking for general fund dollars to add to your base to fund these positions?
Jennifer Bauer for the record, we will not be asking you for general fund dollars. These will transition, if eligible, to grant-funded positions, so we can maximize the federal dollars to offset the reserves for wherever we can in these positions.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have a quick question. Do any of these grants, I know sometimes a grant will come with a position. Do any of these grants fall under that umbrella?
Jennifer Bauer for the record, I would love that, but no.
Okay. And the other question is if you, last session we funded some positions, this session we're funding 6 more. Do you see this as being fully staffed moving forward?
Jennifer Bauer for the record. I can speak to the finance and operations team with the respect of administration of the state operating, state agency operating obligations and then the grants. This would get us there. However, on the authorizing team for monitoring the oversight of charter schools and on the school support team, we would lack at least a couple of positions currently because we would need, for example, the career and technical education grant. We would have a position to administer the fiscal side, but we would not for the program side. So we'd really want to be able to lift up and support that career and technical education program for our charter schools once we get those awards. So I believe that Ms. Ryan indicated we would come back during the interim with a potential request. That could be one opportunity. And then with our site evaluations that we do of charter schools, as we grow, there could be the potential that we would need positions for site evaluations as well. So I cannot say on the other 2 teams of the agency that we would be fully staffed at this time.
Thank you very much. And just one more question with that. So, and I'm just not clear on this piece, like within the charter school, I sort of know on the public school side or the private school side, but within the charter school, when they have staff. So how does that staff interact with you and the EMO enact, how does that all intertwine?
Jennifer Bauer for Jennifer Bauer for the record. May I ask a clarifying question? For the interaction, are you looking at the administration of grants or are you looking at the accountability side?
Sort of the administration of grants, like we're giving positions and like, for example, a regular public school doesn't have an EMO. So, they manage these within the organization, if you will, of whatever school district it is. And a a private school may or may not have somebody, depending on the size of the private school. How does that work with the charter school? If you're a, I don't know, a Durrell Academy, you've got a big EMO that's helping manage all that. Do they have any play into some of these pieces for their schools?
Thank you, Jennifer Bauer, for the record. They absolutely do have play. They have been vital in the school's success of all of the administrative obligations that go with being awarded federal dollars. Because as you're aware, there's reimbursement requests that have to be submitted on a monthly basis with all the supporting documentation that my team would review. There's reporting requirements, there's time and effort requirements, there's maintenance of effort. That's a lot of administrative work that the EMOs have been very helpful to the schools in performing, and we do coordinate with them on a daily basis.
Thank you very much. And I guess where I was kind of going with it, if they have that support, and we have these people, I'm wondering if some of it might have been a duplication of services.
Jennifer Bauer, for the record, there would not be duplication because what the schools and the EMOs provide is context for our team at the SPCSA. So they prepare the documentation for us to review and for us to approve payments or for us to approve a grant award or an amendment to a subaward or the review of the requirements for maintenance of effort, that type of thing. So their workload comes to us, and we typically don't do their job for them, but we do support them in that.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions from the committee? All right, with that being said, I would recommend approval of the reserves and reductions of $150,959 in fiscal year 2024 and $193,148 in fiscal year 25 for one new grants and projects analysis position, one new management analyst position, associated operating and equipment expenditures, and provide fiscal staff with the authority to make technical adjustments as necessary. And I have a motion from Assemblywoman Bacchus and a second from Senator Hadegay. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, Ms. Madison. Ms. Ryan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madison Ryan, LCB Fiscal. For the record, the third decision unit for the subcommittee's consideration is Decision Unit E277, which includes one new management analyst position, which the governor recommends reserve reductions of $166,297 over the 2023-25 biennium for. The management analyst position would compile and submit reports on state and federal programs to the Department of Education, as well as review charter schools' annual reports required for various state and federal programs. In addition, the position would enhance the school support team within the authority by working in consultation with an existing education programs professional position to create report templates and rubrics that would provide schools with clear directions for report submissions, and would assume duties such as data compilation, document review, and report preparation, which would allow the two current education programs professional positions to focus on providing additional technical assistance and training to schools. During the budget hearing, the authority testified that the work related to federal and state programs requires expertise in education. However, the authority indicates that some of the work is more technical in nature, such as data compilation and reviewing reports, which would be performed by the management analyst position. The authority notes that the management analyst position would allow these education programs professional positions to focus their time on requirements that necessitate education expertise and could help to reduce compliance issues and improve the quality of programs. The decision for the subcommittee related to this decision unit is at the bottom of page 9 of the closing packet, which is, does the subcommittee wish to recommend approval of reserve reductions of $73,071 in fiscal year 2024 and $93,226 in fiscal year 2025 for one new management analyst position, associated operating and equipment expenditures, and provide fiscal staff with authority to make technical adjustments as necessary. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Questions, Assemblywoman Bacchus?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and I feel that it would probably been easier if you stayed up here, but I just have a quick question for you. During the last, on the budget hearing for this budget account, I believe you guys had indicated that you didn't foresee any issues in the funding, the salary increases proposed by the governor of the COLAs of the 8% and 10% in fiscal year 2024, as well as the 4% in fiscal year 2025, with respect to the new personnel, and I just wanted to confirm that.
Jennifer Bauer for the record. Absolutely. When the governor's recommended budget came out, I did a deep dive into the impact the PCFP would have on our budget as well as the COLAs for state employees. And I can say that my answer provided to Ms. Monroe Moreno is the same. Our reserves would be comfortable even with the COLA increase and the decrease to reserves. And we would still monitor our reserves to ensure that we are adequate and that we need to provide a refund to schools if appropriate.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe Senator Neal has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this position will help you do perform better grants and reports. So, but in the prior budget that we just closed, you said you had trouble managing the McKinney-Vento grant, or you didn't know that you had to administer it. So what are your current reports related to homeless kids now? Do you have that in this breakdown? Is this the work that they'll be doing?
Jennifer Bauer for the record. The McKinney-Vento grant is new to us this year, so we haven't provided reports quite yet. We're just not that far. But this position, unlike an education programs professional that ensures the program is being implemented with fidelity and ensures that the schools are really providing for those students who need that level of service, this management analyst would be doing the data. So this wouldn't be necessarily in the schools helping with those specific kids that need those services. This would be doing the administrative work on the back end and submitting reports to the governor's finance office through my team or Department of Education or LCB or wherever else they may be required.
Okay, that's helpful. So this won't allow you to collect data so you can understand how to serve those children and then produce reports to those schools that have homeless students in their schools.
Jennifer Bauer for the record, this position would absolutely. Once we get the data that we collect with the assistance of this position, if granted, then yeah, that would absolutely allow us to stratify and on the aggregate look at where our schools need support, and then our education programs professionals that we have would provide that support.
Madam Chair, quick follow-up.
Please, go ahead.
So how long will it take you to get up to speed with these positions to then do those reports so then you can serve the needs of the students based on that data?
Jennifer Bauer for the record. I would anticipate we could get up to speed pretty quickly with this position because we do have a contractor who is working in this capacity, and we could either transition, of course we have to follow HR state rules, but we could transition and we could ensure that the knowledge transfer occurs quickly.
Madam Chair, sorry, but okay. So the contractor who's currently doing the data, I'm confused. So is the contractor who's currently doing the data providing you data that can be used to help the homeless children in the schools, or the data doesn't exist through the contractor?
Jennifer Bauer for the record. The grant is new, so we have access to the current data. We have access to how many students qualify for McKinney-Vento, for example. We can pull that, and our current contractor is assisting that in that effort. I'm talking about the performance data. So after a grant has been awarded and after schools have access to the funds, the contractor would be able to assist us with how those funds have moved the needle for those students.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And following up on that, how many homeless children do you think you possibly have at this point? I mean, you can give me a rough guess.
Jennifer Bauer for the record. Ordinarily pretty good with numbers. Haven't had coffee this morning. 800. May I get that?
So
may I get that
800
firm
out
number
of
to you?
800 out of the 60,000.
We do have a small population.
Okay, thank you. Any additional questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, then I would seek approval of reserve reductions of $73,071 in fiscal year '24 and $93,226 in fiscal year '25 for one new management analyst position, associated operating and equipment expenditures, and provide fiscal staff with the authority to make technical adjustments as necessary. And I take the motion from Assemblywoman Backus and a second from Assemblywoman Huttagee. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Ms. Ryan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madison Ryan, LCB Fiscal, for the record. The other closing items for this budget are outlined at the top of page 10 of the closing packet. And the table at the top of page 10 includes other items 1 through 5, which includes equipment replacement and an expiring grant program. Other item 6 is related to Decision Unit M200, which is projected enrollment, which the governor recommends charter school fees of $1.2 million in fiscal year 2024 and $1.4 million in fiscal year 2025 to provide for projected enrollment growth. This recommendation would also fund expenditures of $463,891 over the 2023-25 biennium related to increased contract services for student testing and information systems attributed to the projected increase in student enrollment. Fiscal staff would note the recommended increase in contract services of $463,891 over the 2023-25 biennium was based on an incorrect count of charter schools and projected enrollment used in calculating the decision unit. The total expenditures should be reflected as $473,807. In addition, the charter school fee revenue of $1.2 million in fiscal year 2024 and $1.4 million in fiscal year 2025 are based on the incorrect charter school fee revenue amount in the base budget. Fiscal staff recommends a technical adjustment to increase contract services and reduce reserves by $4,686 in fiscal year 2024 and $5,230 in fiscal year 2025 to correct the error in projected enrollment, Decision Unit M200. Additionally, fiscal staff recommends a base budget technical adjustment to increase charter school fee revenue by $19,461 in fiscal year 2024 and $17,397 in fiscal year 2025 to correct the error in the base budget. The decision unit, or the decision for the subcommittee, is at the bottom of page 10. Fiscal staff recommends other closing items 1 through 5 be closed as recommended by the governor, and other closing item 6 be closed with the noted technical adjustments, and fiscal staff requests authority for staff to make other technical adjustments as necessary. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Not seeing any, I would seek a motion as fiscal staff read. So moved from Assemblywoman Backus, second from Assemblywoman Huttagee. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, and we will move on. Ms. Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madison Ryan, LCB Fiscal. For the record, the second budget for the subcommittee's consideration this morning is the Public Charter School Loan Program on page 13 of the closing packet, which is budget account 101-2708, which the State Public Charter School Loan Program gives the State Public Charter School Authority the ability to provide loans at or below market rate to charter schools for the costs incurred in preparing a charter school to commence its first year of operation, to improve a charter school that has been in operation, and to fund the recruitment of teachers and enrollment of pupils to new charter school facilities. The total amount of a loan must not exceed the lesser of an amount equal to $500 per pupil enrolled, or to be enrolled at the charter school, or $200,000. Loan applications are provided to the State Public Charter School Authority Board for review and possible approval. And there is one major closing issue in this budget, which is expenditure authority for the Public Charter School Loan Program, Decision Unit E275, which the governor recommends reserve reductions of $200,000 in each year of the 2023-25 biennium for expenditure authority to provide loans to charter schools through the State Public Charter School Loan Program. According to the agency, the governor's recommendation would restore expenditure authority for future loans at the level that existed in the Public Charter School Loan Program budget prior to the 2019 legislative session. The legislatively approved budget for fiscal year 2017 through fiscal year 2019 provided the authority with annual expenditure authority of $200,000 to issue loans from this program. However, the authority provided loans to 3 schools sponsored by the Achievement School District totaling $265,000 over the 2017-19 biennium, and it was later determined that schools sponsored by that district were not eligible to apply for the state public charter school loan program since they were not authority-sponsored charter schools. During the 2019 legislative session, the governor recommended providing loans up to $200,000 in each year of the 2019-21 biennium to continue the state public charter school loan program. However, largely due to the authority improperly providing loans to achievement charter schools, the 2019 legislature instead approved placing the funding of $200,000 in each year of the 2019-21 biennium in reserve. As outlined at the bottom of page 14 of the closing packet, the authority provided loans to 4 new charter schools from fiscal year 2020 to fiscal year 2023, as shown in the table at the bottom of page 14. And the governor recommends expenditure authority of $200,000 in each year of the 2023-25 biennium for the state public charter school loan program, based on the maximum single loan amount a charter school could receive pursuant to NRS 388A-435. There is 1 pending loan application for the State Public Charter School Authority Board's possible consideration and approval, and although the governor's recommendation is based on the maximum single loan amount in each year of the 2023-25 biennium, the funding could be used to provide loans to multiple charter schools at various loan amounts. Should the governor's recommendation be approved, it would not require interim finance committee approval before the authority could expend loan funding in the 2023-25 biennium, and would leave a projected reserve in this budget of $28,441 at the end of fiscal year 2025. In response to questions posed by the subcommittee during the budget hearing on February 14, 2023, the agency testified that the State Public Charter School Loan Program is intended to provide a nominal amount of funding to charter schools, which could allow for new charter schools to have some funding available prior to the start of a school year. The authority indicated that the current 2-step process of receiving approval of the loan from the State Public Charter School Authority Board and then approval for the funding of the loan from the Interim Finance Committee has caused some delays in terms of being able to issue loans in a timely manner to charter schools. The authority testified that should the Interim Finance Committee approval no longer be required, it would allow the authority to provide loan funds to charter schools sooner, which would allow for these schools to expend the funding in a more expeditious manner. For example, during the Teach Las Vegas Charter School was approved for a loan by the State Public Charter School Authority Board on April 23, 2021, but Interim Finance Committee approval for the funding was not provided until June 22, 2021, which the school indicates resulted in curriculum materials not being delivered until September 2021, after the start of the school year. The authority indicates that the State Public Charter School Loan Program has been able to operate within the current timeline and requirements. However, should this timeline be shortened by not requiring Interim Finance Committee approval, it would allow schools to access the money earlier and not have a condensed time frame to utilize the funds prior to the start of the school year. And the decision for the subcommittee, as at the top of page 16 of the closing packet, which includes options for the subcommittee, which is A, approve the governor's recommendation for reserve reductions of $200,000 in each year of the 2023-25 biennium to provide the agency with authority to provide loans to charter schools, or B, not approve the governor's recommendation for reserve reductions of $200,000 in each year of the 2023-25 biennium and retain the funds in reserve and require the agency to request approval from the Interim Finance Committee before using the funding, similar to the action taken by the 2019 and 2021 legislatures. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on this particular conversation? Assemblywoman Backus.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mrs. Bauer. Just wanted to kind of ask you a couple quick questions. In the last biennium, there was obviously loans granted in the amount of $227,000 with the governor's recommended budget of having $200,000 in each year for loans. Do you see there being an interest in that amount of loans by the various charter schools and/or like potential new charter schools?
Jennifer Bauer for the record. We do see an interest because typically the schools will apply for loan funding so that they can have cash on hand so that they can use their charter school program grant funds, which is reimbursement basis. So they will leverage the CSP grant with the cash from the loan program so that they can have some startup FF&E, furniture, fixtures, equipment, that type of thing, and then get reimbursement.
Thank you. Madam Chair, may I have a follow-up? With that, and so if they're using it kind of as like initial funding at the beginning of the year where they know they're going to end up like reimbursing it through grant money or other funding that they get at a latter date. These charter schools know this ahead of time, so they plan ahead to submit these requests to you all.
Jennifer Bauer for the record. There is a spring and I believe summer or fall application cycle, and typically the new schools that are opening will apply in the spring application cycle for the loan, and then we should know at the authority by usually April if we are going to recommend to the authority board a loan to the school. So yes, they do know in advance.
Thank you so much.
Additional questions? Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And initially, in the 2019 legislative body made the decision based upon there have been some improper awarding of loans to the achievement charter schools. And that's why the decision was made to come back to IFC. And I understand that that process does take longer, but it's kind of like a checks and balances step. I'm still in favor of going in that method. But I also have a question. And maybe I missed it or I just don't remember it. During your presentation to this committee, did you present updated data about the achievement schools to kind of address those questions? Was there updated data that was submitted to us?
Jennifer Bauer for the record. In our budget presentation in February before this session, we did not provide that data, but I would be happy to get that data for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, that would be helpful. Assemblywoman Kasama.
Have you since instigated controls so that you don't have the same mistake of funding to, an organization that should not be?
Jennifer Bauer, for the record, absolutely. So the issue with the loans that were given to the ASD schools is there was a misunderstanding at the authority's part. And honestly, I will take the heat for that because I read and assumed that NRS Chapter 388A allowed for all charter schools to receive a loan. And I didn't catch that charter schools approved by the ASD were not under NRS Chapter 388A. So the difference is charter schools that are sponsored by districts and SPCSA are eligible for loans, whereas when the ASD existed, they were not. And so the ASD, as we know, is not in existence anymore, so there should theoretically not be that problem anymore. But we have implemented really tight controls and a really tight review process over the review of the application from a school and our recommendation to the authority board before it would even come to you if we still did have to come to IFC.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional conversation? Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And not really a question, but just a comment. I do agree that I think we need to maintain the IFC process here. And the reason I say that is I understand the concerns that were listed about the timing, but I think with the additional 6 positions that we're authorizing for the charter school authority, I think that timing issue hopefully can be solved in some way, because it looked like the examples we had of timing was really just an issue of a request coming in like right after an IFC ended and before the next one. So I think with those additional positions, we should be able to take care of that. So I would want to keep that in place at least for the next biennium and perhaps reevaluate the next time we're all together in this building.
Thank you very much. Any additional conversation? All right. I would move to approve the governor's, not approve the governor's recommendation for reserve reductions of $200,000 in each year of the 23-25 biennium and retain the funds in reserve and require the agency to request approval from the interim finance committee before using the funding, similar to the action taken by the 2019 and 21 legislatures. And this, just for your edification, this is the same as the current process. I'll take a motion. Assemblywoman Bacchus, second from Assemblywoman Hadagi. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? A nay from Assemblyman O'Neill and Assemblywoman Kasama. Okay, thank you very much. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, we have finished our agenda, so we will move into public comment. And just as a reminder, the public comment number, 888-475-4499. When prompted for the meeting ID, please enter 862-3306. 0770 and then press pound. And when prompted for your participant ID, just press pound. The call-in information is also on the agenda if you did not get that. And I'll begin here in Carson City. Is there anyone for public comment? Go ahead, please, come forward.
Hello, my name is Zachary Gray, and my wife and I own nursing homes in Northern Nevada, and I hope I'm not out of turn because I have no idea what I'm doing. I showed up today because my wife and I live in Reno. We represent 40% of the Medicaid nursing homes there. Our average reimbursement rate for Medicaid patients is approximately $200 per day, and that is one of the worst 5 in the country. Right now, there is a 5% consideration for Medicaid rate increases. It is less than the 6.2% cut for the emergency funding from the public health emergency ending, and the 4% cut that's going to be the result of the Medicaid cuts in terms of rebalance. As far as I know, Nevada is the only state in the country that is considering a net rate cut for nursing home patients as a grave injustice to our seniors. The only 2 states with rates as low as ours that I can find are Texas and Montana. Texas is considering a 15% rate increase, and Montana is considering a 30%. Montana has an almost identical rate to us and has had 12 nursing homes closed in the last year. My wife and I will continue to come and be available to answer any questions you guys may have about COVID, but I would like to request your help in taking care of our seniors in Nevada. We live here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and you can report back to your wife that you did a good job. Any additional public comment here in Carson City? Seeing none in Las Vegas, BPS, we'll go to the phone lines.
Thank you, Chair. The public lines are open and working. However, there are no callers to offer public comment at this time.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. And with that, we will adjourn our committee, and please have a good rest of the day.